What's going on, everybody? And I'm back today with another weekly market video. I think this is episode 9 or 10. I don't know, but when I'm editing the video, you'll see it in the title. So 9 or 10. Let's just get right on into it. Like everything, we start off on the daily time frames. So right now on US 30, what I'm noticing is price. We consolidated for majority of the week. If you look on the hour time frame, you can see we were just ranging downwards all week, slowly ranging downwards. And as you can see, shown with us, and we've basically been consolidating in the last few days also, and we ended the week by having this drop into 34,500 area, which is also in confluence with this daily order block right here that was being respected, but is now getting pushed through. So the next area I would be looking for price to potentially come to is the midpoint, which is at 34,360. If we do come to this midpoint, we could have a potential push to the top side. Let me fix that. Potential push to the top side, but if it's violated, then we are more than likely going to have a push to this daily order block all the way down here, which is at 33, basically 800 area. Yeah, 33,800, which is all the way down here. But neither there or over there. So let's just stick to where we are currently at in price. So now that we know we're overall bearish on the daily time frame, we know we're potentially coming down to 34,360. Now let's move on to the 4-hour time frame and mark up any order blocks, fair value gaps, and just understanding each time frame as we go on. So right here we have the daily order block, so we're not going to have that right there. We're just going to have the 50% marked because we know this is the 50% of the daily order block. And just so you guys don't forget, I'll just have it written down just like that, 50% of the daily order block, so we know what this area of price is, so we don't get confused if we have any other lines on our charts. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to map out all of our areas that have swing highs, swing lows, equal highs, and equal lows. Why are we doing that? Because this is an area where price is more than likely going to reach for. These are going to be our liquidity targets. Let's do it on major ones. Major swing high, major. This one is getting broken through as of right now, but this is one also right there. And next one's all the way down there. So why are these lines so big? Let me just fix these real quick. I don't like how they're so thick. I like to have my lines nice and crispy, nice and thin, like my women. But nah, let's just fix this right there. We're gonna put the X's. The X's are the areas of liquidity that have not been reached for yet, just like that. Okay, so these are the areas, our swing highs of liquidity, our liquidity pools, equal highs on the 4-hour time frame. We could have also did it on the daily time frame. They kind of, matter of fact, I'm gonna do these. Matter of fact, I'm gonna stick them with the daily ones because the daily has the swing highs that are the most pronounced, and you can see right here, these are all the swing highs and swing lows in price. So now that we have the areas of liquidity, let's mark out any 4-hour order blocks that we have. And the first one that I notice is right here in price. Right here, this last up candle before this down move that took out these lows. So this is a valid 4-hour order block that we could potentially trade into later on in time. So that's one thing we want to keep in mind. Another one we want to keep in mind is the one all the way above here. Why are these important? Because you can see they were respected in the past. So if they were respected in the past, that means institutional money, the big money, they have orders of some sort in this area. So we could have a potential push to these areas and a rejection again, or they could just fly right past them. But knowing that these are areas in price that we will either have a rejection or fly past, either way we're going to see some sort of reaction to these price areas, especially because we're only going to have the ones marked up on the higher time frames. So let's see if we have any lower ones. I'm pretty sure this is one right here where price is currently at as of right now, but price is kind of pushing through it. So we're going to see how well this one holds up, because in my opinion, I don't think it's going to hold up that well. So now that we have all of our order blocks, 4-hour order blocks, let's look at potential fair value gaps that price is going to target. So if we know overall we want to come down to the 50% of this daily order block, The first thing that I notice is there's a fair value gap from right here. If you look, this candle, this wick, if you look at this candle, this big candle, and this big candle also, you can see there is gaps in between their wicks. So from here to here, there's a gap. And what does that mean? This is a fair value gap that I would eventually want to see get filled. And this just happens to be in the same area as the 50% of the daily order block. So that's already two confirmations for why price should potentially come down to this area to either reject or just see consolidation and before falling down. It's just areas that price is more than likely going to see a reaction. Another thing I noticed in this area is 34,200 level is also right here. So that's just something to keep in mind. Doesn't mean price is going to trade to it, but we want to keep all of our big figure levels in mind because this is where price tends to want to trade to. So now that we have this fair value gap marked up, this is the short-term one that is in confluence with this area down here. So we're going to put our magnet because this is an area in price that price is more than likely going to respect because we have multiple confirmations, not just one. We have two plus this 34,200 level, and this is just on a 4-hour time frame. We haven't even gone to the 1-hour time frame. So we have that. Another thing I noticed right above this swing high where we have this liquidity that we are going to be targeting in the future, we have another fair value gap right above it. So this is going to act as another level of liquidity. Why? Because there's a fair value gap right above an old high. So we know if price wants to make a run for this high, is more than likely going to push to try to fill in this fair value gap before either falling lower or going higher. Because we could then map out this fair value gap with this 4-hour breaker right here. And if you don't know what a 4-hour breaker is, or a breaker overall, I have a video on that. So if you just click the, I'm gonna have, what's it called? It'll be the tag, it'll be on the top right side of the screen. You'll see it right now, right over here. But I have a whole video on that, but for a brief explanation, let's just go back in time. For example, right here, you can see that this was the order block at some point. You can see if you pull your fib, possibly it would have rejected your fib. You can see it rejects the fib, order block, and then you can see it got respected before later on breaking through it. So this order block then becomes a breaker block because that is a block that broke structure. So we know that if price wants to trade back up, this is going to be an area that price is more than likely going to retrace to. Why? Because we have multiple confirmations, not just one, but two now. And keeping in mind what level is also up here, another 35,200 level. So just like that, we have two reasons for why price should come down here. One, two, three reasons why price should potentially come up here. And these are just two areas that we have marked up outside of the consolidation that we are currently in, because in my opinion, all of this is trash. This is just ranging trash. And the way that I'm looking at it, well, the way a lot of retail traders are probably looking at it, they're probably looking at price potentially like this, waiting for the breakdown or up. But in my eyes, I'm looking at this trend line. I'm looking at it like I want to take the liquidity from all of these highs right here, because I know that trend lines do not work, and I'm gonna have a video on that separately because I can go on and on about why trend lines are ass and do not work at all. But that's not the time and place. Right now we're just going over US30. So now that we have these marked up, we have our fair value gaps marked up on the higher time frame, we have our order blocks marked up on the higher time frame. Now we're going to go down to the hour time frame, and this is the last time frame we're going to go down on, because anything lower is good for intraday, but when we're doing our overall weekly analysis, that's not really going to matter. So one thing I noticed right now is price cleared these lows down here. So one thing I will be looking for is to see if price is either going to have a sharp run up to potentially keep going higher, or if price is going to consolidate before falling lower, because this could be an area, this could be a potential false break. And if you look at areas that we had potential false breaks, you can see we had a false break above these highs before having a strong candle push down. You can see the same thing right above here. We had a false break before falling down. If you look to the left again, we had a false break before coming down. So you can see these happens very often. So this is a case that we could potentially come down, but it all depends on how the next candle forms, because if the next candle pushes all the way back up, engulfing this candle, we would have the confirmation of this false break plus this 4-hour order block. So if that does happen, what will we do? We will pull our fib from this swing high that we have up here to where price is as of right now, just like that. And you can see our 4-hour order block up here is in confluence with the 62%, and we're going to put just like that. So now we know if price does have this push up after this break to the downside, we could potentially come all the way back up to 34,730, where we could potentially see a push to the downside, just like that. As you guys see, I just do the same thing on every time frame, just mapping out high areas of high probability that we're likely to see reactions in price. So now that we know we could potentially have this push up, because we know we're bearish, so if we get an area that we could potentially get in good areas to be able to sell the market, we can sell short going into this 34,335 area. So this is what I have for US 30. Let's look at last week's Asian range. Asian range is right here. If you guys don't know the importance on Asian range, I'm also going to have a video on that separately also, because the Asian range is our week, is basically our consolidation. And if you can see, we can have a potential push up to the Asian range low before coming down even lower. So that's a potential setup we could have in mind going into this week. It's not important as of right now because the market is closed, so we just have to wait to see what happens. So just like that, and we're also going to mark up this level up here, 35,000, because this is an area that price is more than likely going to have reaction also. So we have 35,200 all the way over here, and we have 34,200 all the way down here. So this is my analysis right now on US 30. It's kind of hard to really have a good prediction on what I expect to happen due to the fact that we're consolidating for the most part of this week. So we just got to see what happens when the market opens. In my opinion, I want to see if price could have this push up when the market opens to keep rising, to potentially fall short during maybe Monday or Tuesday to get good buy entries around Tuesday, Wednesday to ride it to potentially clear all these highs up here to end the week. That's ideally what I want to see happen. Might not happen because we're not always right. We don't always know what is going to happen, but we will see. And now let's move on to NAS 100. So NAS, we're going to start off on the daily time frame. First thing I notice is price is going to run for these lows right here. Let me just mark up all of these areas of liquidity, just like that. As you guys know from watching my videos, you probably notice a lot of the things I do are repetitive, and this is on purpose. A lot of the things I do are repetitive for a reason, because I know what I'm looking for in the market. I'm drawing out this breaker block right here on the daily time frame. Like I said before, if you don't know what a breaker block is, I'll have a video up here if you didn't click it already. But a breaker block is an order block that was being respected. So as you can see, if you go down like this order block at one point was being respected, pushing price down before later on breaking through. So when it broke through, that order block then became a breaker block in price, and this is going to be an area that price is more than likely going to have reaction to. So just like that, we have our breaker block. We're going to put the 50% on it just to refine it for better entries if price does come down to here. So now we overall know, since we're about to break these lows, price is more than likely going to come down to this area. So we're overall bearish. Last day, broke lows, about to break these lows, very bearish candle. And if you pull your fib from this high to the low right here, just like this, so this high and this low right here, I can guarantee you that it had a 38.20% rejection, which is a continuation. Yes, it did, before pushing lower. So this is confirmation for bearish momentum, and it's in a strong trend because it didn't have a full retracement. So when the smaller the retracement, the stronger the trend is. So since it's a strong trend breaking lows on the daily time frame, we overall are bearish. So we're going to stick to that. I don't know why this be having yellow and shit. Once I go down the hour time frame, it won't be there. But okay, so now we're on here. The first thing that I notice that came to my eyes is right under these lows where we have liquidity. There's a fair value gap right here. Part of it has been filled already, so we're going up to here has been filled, but this is just clean. Right under this area that we have an old low, which is sell side liquidity, we have a fair value gap. So in my opinion, this is another reason why price should have a push to fill in down. We could possibly fill in maybe half before having a push up to the top side and making this a false break, but until price actually starts moving, we don't know. So we just have to map out ideas for what potentially could happen. Next thing I see is we have this 4-hour order block right here, the last up candle before this down move that then broke these lows. So this is a valid order block that we can use to trade to. We also have this breaker block right here that we could also use in confluence for a trade. Because what I would do, I would personally draw my fib from here to the low, just like that. But in this case, price is still falling, so this isn't the best idea for fib. Maybe you should come down to like the 15-minute and try to draw it here where the low is, right there where this low is, just like that. Then come back to the 4-hour. This is potentially something that we could watch for, because you can see that this breaker block is in confluence with our fib levels, and the 4-hour order block's right above the 79%. So this is an area where we could possibly get a wick into price before potentially maybe falling lower to see something like that, because we're bearish on US30, so we are basically bearish on NAS 100 too. They're not always going to move similar, but for the most part they have similar moves. So just like that. Another thing I'm noticing is, since we're coming down to price, we would be looking for areas to target. And one thing that I'm going to do is pull my fib from this low of this swing move, which is the range we're currently in. And you can see we have a confluence with a 62% right in the middle of the 50% of that breaker block. So we have that just like that. So we have multiple confirmations for this area and price. As of right now, we have the breaker block on the daily time frame, we have the 50% of it, and we have this fib that we drew from the range that price is currently in, and the 62%, it matches up under this fair value gap right with all of our other confirmations. So that's multiple confirmations in this area for why price should potentially come even lower. But now say price does have this push up, we know we're looking for areas to sell short around this area and price right up here. Ideally the order block, because that's ideally where I like to get into my trades personally. Everyone's not the same, but that's me personally. So that's really it. Let's move on to the hour time frame to see if I see anything that I didn't see on the higher time frames. But I tend not to go lower than the hour time frame, because you want to stick to higher time frame analysis, because understanding that with smart money, institutional trading, all of that, all these people are basically, they trade on the higher time frames, the weekly, the daily, the monthly. They don't trade on the 15-minute, the 1 minute. You could trade on that because the algorithm is all the same, but at the end of the day, if you want to have the real trend, you want to know where price is way more likely to go, you want to stick to the higher time frame analysis. And on the higher time frame, we know we're bearish, and you can see in price is having sharp moves to the downside. So what does that tell you? It shows you that there's a lot of money trying to push the market even lower. So that's that. Now we have other little confirmations, such as these fair value gaps in price from here to here. So this is a little confirmation for why price should potentially have a retracement to try to fill it in before going lower. But just like US30, we are currently inside of a range right now. This could potentially be a false break, just like I said US30 could potentially be doing. But we won't know until the market opens and shows us that it either wants to keep trading lower or it wants to have a retracement to go higher. If this is a false break, we will draw our fib from that low. We would wait for a retracement to potentially sell short in the market. Or even if you wait for the false break, that will be an area that you could potentially go long, understanding that you want to try to go long and get out around these prices at 15,446, or even at the 4-hour order block at 15,474. And then if price keeps going higher, breaking these highs, you made your money, You could leave a runner. It is what it is, because you understand that if price pushes to these areas in price, there is a chance that it could have a reversal to continue going down due to the area and how many confirmations it has in price. So this is my analysis on NAS 100. Until price comes down to 15,100, I wouldn't be trying to buy in this market, honestly, because I feel due to the daily time frame, there is way more probability that price is going to try to come down to this area, potentially come here to go higher, because you can see there's a lot of reason. Let me take everything off real quick. There's a lot of momentum to the downside, and if you see this fair value gap that we had on the daily time frame, from this wick to this wick, we still have some to fill. So I'm not gonna have that on there because I don't want to clutter my chart. But now that you see what price I think is gonna do is similar to US30, we just wait, see if price is going to create support around this area to potentially go higher. And now we know that you will be looking to go short around here, and you will be looking to buy around 15,100. So now let's move on to DXY. DXY, I ain't gonna lie to you guys, I took a trade on it for the first time on Friday and I got clapped. I ain't gonna lie. I was trying to, let me just look for the trade real quick. It was somewhere, where was it? I don't even remember where it was. I was trying to go short somewhere in here. I don't remember where it was exactly, but don't really matter. So now we're going to stick to DXY. We're going to map out our areas, swing highs, swing lows, because these are our areas of liquidity that price is going to reach for during this week. So we have this low, this low, this low, and this high, and then these lows down here. These are our main ones due to the higher time frames. Like I said, higher time frame is key. You don't want to be doing all your analysis on the lower time frame. Lower time frame analysis is only good intraday when you're looking to get into a trade within like an hour or 30 minutes. That's when the lower time frame analysis comes into play. So now that we know what's happening, we know price cleared these highs, and it's also trading into this daily order block as of right now after clearing these highs. So in my opinion, I want to see a reaction of some sort in this area of price. DXY, I'm not going to go down to the 1 hour time frame either, because DXY I like to have as a broad understanding because this is the dollar index. So just like that, we have this area marked up in price. Now that we're taking out these highs right here, we could potentially have this as an area where we could have a false break above, just like that. So we could have a push to maybe this 93,359 area, which is the 50% of this daily candle. Maybe have a wick to even fill in this fair value gap that we have from this candle to this candle, potentially fill in this fair value gap, reject to then potentially come lower and take out the liquidity below these lows, something like that. And mind you, this is on the daily time frame, so it's going to be a little bit slower of moves. It's going to take time, but it's going to be major moves. So now that we know we're at this order block, let's pull our fib from this high to the low to see if it also maps out with our fib levels. And as you can see, somewhat does. Right here, the daily order blocks is in confluence with the 70.50% of our fib. So this is ideally where we would want to see reaction right here. This is the best area in my opinion that I will be looking to get into a trade, because it took out this high, is at the daily order block and at the 70.50%. That's a major trade in my opinion, but right now price is pushing higher and it doesn't look like it wants to slow down. So we just have to see what happens when the market opens. So let's move on to the 4 hour time frame. And let me fix these eclipse. Just like that. These eclipse, since I'll be drawing them on the higher time frame, they look a little weird on the lower ones. I'd be having OCD. So now that we know we're overall want to see push, not a push, you want to see a fall. You can see in price, looking at the candles, understanding candlestick analysis, you can see the candles are getting smaller, meaning we're losing momentum. And when we're losing momentum, there's a high chance that price is going to try to have a retracement to fill in the liquidity voids, fair value gaps that are left from these expansions, which are all the way down here. So areas that price could potentially be reaching for, when price, it left this small breaker right here, which was a order block that got Damn, it's so small I can't even like move it over. Right here, this small breaker in price, because this was the order block that got respected before. And as you can see, if you come back, just zoom on in, you can see this order block, once it got broken through, we had a retracement to it. This would have been a good area to get short in the market. And from there, price fell a little bit lower before breaking through, now creating this, making it a breaker block. So that we know that's a breaker block. And now if we pull our fib from this low to the high of where price currently is, it's the same situation to the other pairs. So in this case, just draw it from the last high. I'll just do that. And you can see that this breaker block is in confluence with these fib levels also. So this is an area in price that I would potentially want to see movement. And if is there a whole number level? It's at 92,900 is the whole number level. 93,000 is right above it. And if you see, let's put our 38.20, because these are areas in price that price could likely have a retracement to see reaction. So now we know that we're in an area in price where we're waiting to see reaction to. Now we wait to see if we could break below these lows potentially going into the week, or we're going to have a retracement to this area in price before pushing even higher to fill in this fair value gap. Or if the market pushes a little bit higher when the market opens, we could be looking to fill in this fair value gap to see rejection around 93,360 area. But that's really it for DXY. We just have to wait. Overall, I want to see a drop in price due to the fact we're at this strong area at this daily order block, and we're more than likely going to see a bigger move due to the fact where we are. It might not be long term. We could just have a push maybe to here to potentially keep going higher, or if we don't see that, we could then have a push to potentially retrace, maybe have another retracement of some sort before breaking these lows, trading into this 4-hour order block we have down here. So these are all things that we could keep in mind. Higher time frame over lower time frame analysis. Always keep that in mind. Write that down. Higher time frame is over lower time frame analysis. So that's really it for DXY. We're kind of in this weird trend making this V shape in my opinion. So we just got to see. Price has been ranging for majority of the last 2 weeks, so it's kind of hard to get the trend. But if we stick with this uptrend, we know where we want to get in. We know areas in price that price is likely to have reactions to. And if we do this, just like that, same fib, but from this low to this high, we can see the 79% is almost in confluence with the 4-hour order block. So that's just something to keep in mind. This is my DXY analysis. Let's see what happens going into the week. And now let's move on to gold. So let's go to the daily time frame and let's look at what's gold is going on. So gold, you can see, is also having a major drop to the downside. And the one thing I noticed is price is currently at this daily order block that we have right here. So it's like the opposite of what NAS and US 30 are doing. So we're at this order block. So potentially, in my opinion, this shows me that we could have a potential of having a bullish week due to the fact of where we are in price. Let's pull the fib. Let's get the 50% of this order block. And you can see price is respecting it to the pip. And then from here, we had a push upwards. So from here, I'm looking to potentially fill in this fair value gap that we left here on this daily time frame. Mind you, daily time frame. So this is high probability. Then what else do we see? Right above this, we have this other daily order block also. So this is very clean in my opinion. And let's also pull our fib from this low to the high to see if, okay, I fucked that up. Let me do it from this low to this high. And you can see this is also in confluence with our fib levels. So we have a lot of reason to believe price is going to have a push of some sort in price to see higher prices. And these equal highs, in my opinion, up here look too clean and they look like they want to get taken out. And if you look to the left of it, you have this fair value gap right here that has not fully been filled. So we're going to pull it to the top because we still have to fill in all of this fair value gap. So this is ideally what I want to see with gold. Gold right now, with the way I'm looking at it, it looks very bullish in my opinion. Let me have these down here. We also have these equal lows all down here that or look too clean, in my opinion, too clean. But for the most part, I think we're gonna have a push in price. This area is going to be key right there. Let's move on to the 4-hour time frame, see if we see anything that also helps our bias. Okay, so you can see prices making these equal lows right now after respecting this 1750 area right here, 1750. It's respecting it, so we could potentially have this push of some sort. Let's pull our fib from this high to this low, a push to potentially come up to this area that has a lot of confirmations as of right now. We have this daily order block that is right above this fair value gap. So after we fill in this fair value gap, we come into a daily order block, which is also in confluence with the 79% of our fib short on the 4-hour time frame. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing we're keeping in mind is price is currently respecting this 4-hour order block. This last down candle before this up move that then started to push and started this whole move is currently where price is at right now. So as long as we can stay above this 4-hour order block, in my opinion, getting good longs is going to be valid. Keeping your stop somewhere below here, but just wait for the market to open, because when the market opens, we could potentially have a false break also below these lows to get people to think they're going to go short before having this push upwards. So that's something that could potentially happen. So ideally, bullish perspective, as long as we can stay above this order block, 4-hour order block, which is at 1754. As long as we stay above 1750, I think price is more than likely going to have a push to the top side. And as long as we can stay under 1794 when price does trade to this area, I think this is a good area to go to get good potential shorts. So this is my analysis on gold, keeping it short and simple. I'm gonna just go to hour time frame right now to see if anything changes my bias. You can even see on the hour time frame we're starting to break these highs, so we have a good probability for why price should try to fill in, and we have a lot of areas that price needs to fill in from this liquidity gaps that price left when it had this big expansion to the downside. So that's that. 4-hour time frame, we know what we're looking for. We mapped out our all high probability areas. Daily time frame, we know we're in this daily order block area, so we want to map out good potential buy scenarios, and we know where to get out early in case this whole trade doesn't play out perfectly. So price could either have a strong push to go clear these highs, and that will be a major move, but if that doesn't happen, you know to get out at 1794 at least, due to the fact that this is a daily order block and has multiple other confirmations also. And if you even look right here, this last up candle before this up move, or what, this last down candle before this up move, is also a breaker block. So that's also another confirmation in this area for why price should potentially go short. So this area is very high probability for short scenarios. So if you do get longs, you would be wanting to get out at least in this area or taking majority of the position off. So that's my analysis for gold, US 30, DXY, NAS 100. I'm not going to be going over any other pairs. I used to go over GJ. I'll go over it here and there, but in my opinion, it's just ranging and I'm not going to bother. Bitcoin, you guys already know my long-term analysis on it. I still want to see price go short in the market, and in my opinion, I think this is just a retracement to potentially go shorter, because if you see this order block we have right here that was created, we're currently rejecting it. So if we can keep rejecting it, I think price is still likely to come even lower, because we're only respecting the 38.20% continuation level. And honestly, I don't want to see this held up. I don't think price is going to continue to fly. I think it's more than likely going to come down to at least 39K before having a push up. So yeah, that's my little Bitcoin analysis. If you didn't watch my Bitcoin long-term prediction, but I'm still bearish on Bitcoin. So that's that. So hopefully this video was helpful. Hopefully it gave you a little insight of what I'm expecting to come for this upcoming week on US 30, NAS 100, DXY, and gold. And if there's any other pairs that you guys actually want me to start marking up for you, just leave them in the comments. I'll mark them up, because the best thing about the way I could trade anything in the market, because at the end of the day, the way I trade is with the algorithm, and as long as you understand the algorithm and how price delivers, you could trade anything. Stocks, you could trade options, you could trade crypto, forex, indexes, anything. I could go anywhere and look at a chart and I'll probably understand what's going on. Trade a math chart. But yeah, that's really it. So hopefully this video helped you just get a better understanding of what I'm looking to come this week. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, click this button right here, like, comment, put on the notifications for whenever I upload. I'm uploading every single week, and that's really it. So hopefully this video helped you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.